Hi guys, and hello from the hilltop. I'm Waxahachie Blue, and I want to welcome you to my channel, The Plateau Perfectionist. Today's video is my August 2022 plan with me in my Vivid Scribbles dot journal. So for this particular month, I had the colors of this pink Crayola Supertip as well as the green 101. I did throw in an additional pink Tombow number, it's got it right here, 761, which is part of the pastel set. And because I had these two colors, I was originally going to do watermelons, but to be honest, everybody and their brother does watermelons when they have pink and green, so I decided to go with gladiolus. If you are a person who is of the August birth month, you might recognize gladiolus is one of the two flowers for the month of August. And it kind of also ties into the fact that I did lions for my 2021 plan with me. If you remember my blue space lions, which is still a particular favorite of mine. And August is Leo season, lions, and so it kind of a little play that gladiolus is the flower for the month of August. So I have been very busy. Not an excuse, just a statement. I have been very, very busy, and so it never fails. During the summer months, I always find myself a lot busier than just about any other time of the year. So I always try to keep my summer ones relatively simple in their designs, just because I just don't have the time to be doing a lot of extra tracking or extra doodling or anything like that. So if you ever notice, it's fairly consistently, my June, July, and August are usually a lot thinner on the extra busyness that comes along with some additional trackers or anything of that nature. Whereas my winter months and my beginning of the start of the new not fiscal year, but the new year, they have a lot more bells and whistles, if you want to call it that way. So for this one, instead of doing a quote page, I did a little thing about gladiolus and the meaning of the gladiolus flower. It means strength of character, sincerity, generosity, and natural grace. Now, gladiolus come in more colors than just pink, but those are the colors that I used. And I mentioned the Tombow. Since this particular pink color is a very dark pink, I'll get into a story about this color tip here in a second, but since this Crayola Supertip is a very dark pink, I didn't want that dark to be incredibly overwhelming, so I decided to use it as an outline for the gladiolus flower. And then I did incorporate this light Tombow dual brush pen for the inner workings. Not only that, but Tombows layer upon themselves a lot more cohesively and beautifully, and I wanted to really, yes, this is a 2 for 22 challenge that I am doing for the pink and the green, but I do allow myself at least a little bit of leeway, or at least I have come to allow myself a little bit of leeway, especially if it is a color that just doesn't want to layer on itself as nicely as some of my other pens can. So Tombows, if you've ever used a Tombow, they layer beautifully, whereas Crayola Supertips don't like to layer on themselves as nicely. So here's my 2-page calendar spread. I did decide to do just a little bit of a hint of a Dutch door here. Why? Because I can, and just because I wanted to give it a little bit of a change. A lot of the flower themes that you see in bullet journals do incorporate a Dutch door, especially in their title page. And this was kind of my homage to that, but in my own various style. As for just keeping it simple, I just did the 2-page calendar here. The boxes for the calendar in and of itself is 5 by 6, so you'll notice they're a little bit longer, and that is just so I can keep that top line of each of the boxes with the number in it, and to give it its own little space. I don't always do that, but I decided just to kind of give it that clean and polished look by doing it that way this particular month. Not only that, but this is one of the few months where, depending on how you design it, I do mine Monday to Sunday. you didn't have the extra wasted space of random days floating about in space because the month starts midweek. If you've ever watched my weeklies, you know where that bugs me. This one didn't. Yay. So, gladiolus, this Crayola Supertip. That's where I was going with this. So, I have a 50-pack of Crayola Supertips, and they don't necessarily have numbers or designated like names, at least that I could find. So what I ended up doing was I wrote in Sharpie pen on the bottom of each of my markers, and then I wrapped it in Scotch tape, weirdly enough, so that the number doesn't rub off. Number 23 and I. Number 23 is a liar. Okay. This particular Crayola tip is a liar. The reason I call it a liar is if you notice that the actual marker capsule in and of itself, you know, the lid, the base, the whole nine, is kind of a lighter, not necessarily a light pink, but it is kind of a blush, you know, a deeper blush, rosé pink. In the meantime, the ink of this marker is a lot darker, and I don't like it. This one, and I think the one that is directly above it, if you keep them in not chronological order, but pigment color order, I call it 22 and 23, but 22 and 23, they look either a lot lighter. So 22 looks like a very soft baby colored pink, and it is not. It lies like a dog. This one is supposed to be kind of a medium pink, and it ends up being dark pink. And then I have a dark pink, and it looks even darker than that. But anyway, that's why I included the Tombow brush pen, because it actually gives the flowers a little bit more depth. And then just my Art 101, which this came from a set that a friend had gifted me many moons ago, and just kind of to add that extra green. By the way, if you hear my air conditioner kicked on, if that's the background noise you'll probably hear in the background of this voiceover. This was just kind of a filler page. I did want to be able to include some gladiolus on this particular page, but not necessarily in the actual tracker, which I will explain here in a second. So I decided to do this one page with the two quotes. I couldn't really decide which one I liked the best, and I wanted to kind of do both the square as well as the circle. So that's why there's two quotes on this page instead of just one. As for the tracker in and of itself, this is actually a page of trackers. So the far left column is my habit tracker. It has 1 to 31 the days, and then it has the various the habits that I wish to track at the top, and I'll just put an X on if I actually perform that habit for the day. The middle column is a weight tracker because I do track my weight, and then the far right tracker is my ketone level tracker, or my Boz ratio tracker. If you follow Dr. Boz on YouTube, Google her, she's awesome. You know I do a ketogenic lifestyle, and this is one way that I track how well I am doing on my ketogenic lifestyle. So far, I've been terrible because I have been through an extreme amount of stress this past month with some other things that are currently happening in my life, and my keto levels have definitely reflected that, along with the binge eating that I have been doing. Yay me! But you know what? Whatever. Is what it is. What is that sound? Why does it sound like there's a UFO on my roof? I don't know if you can hear it, but there is a UFO sound on my roof. Great. Fantastic. You know what? We're just going to keep going. We're going to just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Be at peace and go. Sounds counterintuitive, but it is. Budget tracker. I do this every single time. I actually kept this one pretty simple. In fact, this whole tracker, by the time I was done editing, was exactly an hour, 1 minute and 50 seconds long. You've seen me make this a gazillion million times. If you want a more detailed description of what exactly is going on in this particular video, watch some of my other videos. I go into more detail. It's a rolling total system that I use. It's in my lines. I was going to do them in green, but I decided I didn't want to do that because I wanted to include the pink to deviate the spaces, so I just did the green on top. I was afraid the pink and the green would smudge together and that it wouldn't look very nice. Now we're getting into the fun part. My weeklies. Ta-da! I decided to do a cutout method. So, I'm sure people were probably curious why I had washi tape in random places all over this thing. This was one reason why. So, I don't actually own an X-Acto knife. I know, it's weird. But I don't, and I also didn't think of asking my mom for one. She has several, but I didn't even think to ask her for one. In the interim, I cut this little diamond shape out of all of these pages with a pair of scissors. They were very sharp scissors, so I did get a very pretty clean cut for the most part. However, there was a couple of places where the page tried to tear, just because that's what pages do when you're cutting the center out of them and it doesn't like it, or it doesn't like you, whichever one. So that's one reason why I went ahead and did the washi tape around as a frame job for all of the, for this particular cutout style. I also decided not to go ahead and sketch the gladiolus before anything. I left it blank. This was probably the part that I kind of free-flowed in my drawing, and I actually think it came out rather nice, because I didn't know if I wanted to do a scene or if I just wanted to do kind of a filler, almost like a wallpaper pattern in the background, which is how I think this came out more as it kind of looks like a piece of wallpaper or scrapbook or whatever you want to think about it. And I liked it better that way, instead of trying to do a scene. I think a scene would have just been too complicated. I had enough scenes and the rest of it, just keep it simple. I also did include the tabby doos, because I love me a good tabby doo from my weeklies. But another reason I decided to do a cutout style is I have never done a cutout style really like this. And it just kind of changed everything around, and I liked it that way. And even my mom thought it was kind of a fancy schmancy thing. And then, of course, she told me she had the X-Acto knife, and I didn't bother to even ask. I know she's got enough cutting boards. She's a quilter, so she has plenty of those cutting pad thingamajiggers. Didn't even think to ask. Did it all myself with a pair of scissors. Actually ended up cutting the dickens out of one of my fingers to the point of needing a band-aid because I was bleeding. Although I'll be honest, that was actually a paper cut, not the scissors. It did make a gouge, darn it. But anyway, so yes, here is my lovely little frame. And then, of course, I noticed that my frame didn't actually line up on the first page, so I had to move the washi tape to fix it. But yeah, so this is how I managed to include a little pop of color on my weeklies without making my weeklies overly detailed or complicated. Really not. And then I just added a little bit of lines where they needed to be. Oh, and I erased these pencil lines because the washi tape is so thin that you can see the pencil lines through it. So that's one reason I went ahead and whatever's. Oh, and then of course now my washi tape is too long. Let's see. Whatever. I don't even ask where I got this washi tape from. I think I got it off of either AliExpress or Wish many moons ago. But yeah, so yeah, used the pink for the lines. I used the green for the numbers. I didn't actually write Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And these are set up in sets of 8, so there is a little space for anything for the upcoming week. I don't always use that particular space. It depends on how much writing space I have for my days. And then, of course, my final week, I had 3 extra days because I do my weeklies month to month, and I just kind of slap them in here on all that good stuff. And yeah. So, I'm just about done with this. This is a surprisingly short video. So I will go ahead and just start my sign off here and just let you enjoy the rest of it. I want to thank you for sitting here for the last 15-16 minutes and watching me do a bullet journal, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in any of my work, by all means, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, comment if you feel inclined, subscribe if you wish to watch more. I try to put out at least one video a month. I just don't have the physical time with my full-time job to do more than that. I also have an Instagram, which is the Plateau Perfectionist with underscores in between each word, and then I also have a Facebook page, which is the same but minus the underscores. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the video. It's just about time for the final flip through, and I hope to see you next week. Or not next week, next month. If I did next week, I think my brain would explode. I'm sorry, I just don't have that capability right now. Alright, so enjoy the gladiolus, enjoy the final flip through, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.